The night was alive with glittering lights, but they masked the darkness that lingered in forgotten alleys. Somewhere between the roar of luxury cars and the laughter spilling from lavish rooftops, there was silence, cold, hollow silence. And in that silence, a pair of small, tired eyes gazed upward at a bakery window, their pupils wide not with joy, but with hunger. The child pressed a thin hand against the glass, as if hoping that touch alone could feed him. It was not the food itself that made the sight so haunting, but the sheer helplessness in those eyes that had already seen too much suffering in too short a life. Those eyes would become the turning point in a man's journey, a man who had spent his life chasing everything except what truly mattered. Back into Next Pointing Right if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of compassion. Please take a moment to like this video, share it with others, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to Kindness Tales. Your support helps spread these messages of hope to more hearts around the world. Ravi Malhotra was a man who had everything money could buy. Born into nothing, he had clawed his way up from poverty with relentless ambition, building an empire of hotels, malls, and luxury apartments that glittered in the skyline of a city. To the world, he was a mogul, a king of real estate, and a symbol of success. Yet beneath his sharp suits and diamond watches was a man hardened by life, someone who believed kindness was weakness and compassion a distraction from profit. His schedule left no room for sentiment. Meetings mattered more than moments, and deals mattered more than people. That evening, Ravi had just walked out of one of his five-star hotels after sealing a deal worth millions. The streets outside were alive with the chatter of life, but to him, it was just background noise. His car, a sleek black machine, waited at the curb. He stepped toward it when something caught his eye, a boy no older than 8, standing outside a bakery window. His clothes were torn, his hair unkempt, his face smeared with the dust of neglect. It was not his state of dress or dirt that rooted Ravi to the spot. It was his eyes. There was a desperation in that gaze, a hunger not just for bread, but for mercy, for hope, for something more than survival. The boy didn't cry, didn't beg, didn't move. He just looked at the loaves of bread inside, as if they were treasures locked away in another world. Ravi's driver asked if they should leave, but Ravi did not answer. For the first time in years, something inside him cracked, not with words, but with silence. Memories Ravi thought he had buried came rushing back. He was 6 when he had stood just like that boy, outside a shop in the rain, stomach empty for days, watching other children eat sweets he could never afford. His father had died young. His mother worked herself to exhaustion, and Ravi had known the sting of hunger more deeply than any wound. But he had promised himself long ago never to feel that pain again, and in doing so, he had armored his heart so tightly that he had forgotten the child he once was. Until now, Ravi walked into the bakery without thinking. He bought every loaf of bread, every bun, every biscuit they had, and returned to the boy. The child's eyes widened as Ravi handed him the bags, too heavy for his small arms. The boy staggered but held on, clutching them as if holding on to life itself. He whispered a soft "thank you," and in that fragile voice, Ravi heard the sound of his own past, the boy he had abandoned within himself. But the story did not end there. As Ravi returned to his car, he noticed 2 more children emerging from the shadows, then 3, then 4. Thin arms, frail bodies, hollow cheeks, all looking at him with the same gaze. Hunger was not a single face. It was a sea of faces. Ravi felt overwhelmed, standing in front of something money alone could not solve. For the first time, his wealth felt small, his power fragile. That night, Ravi could not sleep. He sat in his penthouse, the city's glitter spread out beneath him, and yet all he saw were those eyes. His empire suddenly seemed meaningless, built on cold steel and empty numbers. What use was success if children slept hungry in the streets below his hotels? What legacy would he leave behind except skyscrapers that cast shadows over broken lives? He realized with brutal clarity that he had been running from his own past, forgetting the struggles that once defined him. The next morning, Ravi did something he had never done before. Instead of heading to his boardroom, he drove back to the bakery street. The same boy was there, sitting on the curb, sharing the bread he had received with other children. He wasn't hoarding it. He was feeding others like him. That small act shattered Ravi's final layer of pride. A starving child had shown more kindness than he, a wealthy man, had ever given in years. That was the day Ravi made a decision that would change not just his life, but thousands of lives. He called a meeting with his senior managers, not to discuss profits, but to announce a new mission. He would build shelters, kitchens, and schools for underprivileged children across the city. A portion of his empire's profits would no longer go into his personal luxuries, but into feeding and educating those who had nothing. His team was shocked, some even resistant, but Ravi's voice carried a conviction they had never heard before. The journey wasn't easy. Newspapers called it a publicity stunt at first. Rivals mocked him for wasting resources, and even his own shareholders doubted him. But Ravi didn't care. Every time he felt discouraged, he remembered the boy's hungry gaze, and that gave him strength. Slowly, his actions began to speak louder than criticism. Free kitchens started serving thousands of meals a day. Children who once begged on the streets were now in classrooms, holding pencils instead of empty bowls. Families who had lost hope found dignity restored. Ravi visited those shelters often, not as a businessman, but as a human being. He sat with the children, ate simple meals with them, listened to their stories. He learned that poverty wasn't just hunger, it was dreams crushed before they could bloom. And with each visit, he felt a peace that money had never given him. For the first time, he wasn't building towers of concrete. He was building lives. Years passed, and Ravi's empire transformed. Yes, he was still wealthy, still powerful, but now his name was spoken with respect, not for his skyscrapers, but for his compassion. The same newspapers that once mocked him now celebrated him. Awards and recognition followed, but none of that mattered to Ravi. What mattered were the smiles he saw every day, the light in children's eyes when they no longer had to gaze hungrily at bakery windows. The boy who had sparked it all remained unknown to the world. Ravi never even learned his full name, but he carried that memory like a flame inside him, a reminder of the night his life had changed forever. He knew now that miracles often came in the simplest forms, not as thunderclaps from the sky, but as silent gazes that pierced the soul. Back and index pointing right, if this story touched your heart, I invite you to like this video, share it with others, and subscribe to Kindness Tales. Every gesture helps spread kindness farther, reaching those who need hope the most. Speech Balloon special request. Before you leave, please comment below. Kindness can change lives. Let's fill this space with hope together. And so, the mogul who once lived only for profit became a man who lived for people. All because of a child's hungry gaze, a gaze that turned his heart, his mission, and his legacy into something truly unforgettable.